Yeah, there was a lot of people showing them.
Right, welcome everybody.
I'm apologising.
Welcome everybody. Before we start, I'll just read the script out. Please note this meeting is being recorded by Town Council where possible live streamed on YouTube. Please note the recording device is sensitive and live stream may be recorded by third parties, so do not say anything you do not want recorded. If necessary, I will direct all recording in the room and live stream to be stopped. But generally I want to avoid doing that, so we normally record everything except any item taken in closed session. Members of the public may also make their own recordings but must follow our rules for doing so, including stopping recording when requested. Whilst we do not accept anonymous speakers at the public forum, members of the public who wish to speak but do not want their name public must please indicate this before saying please, thank you. Start. Right. Item number one, apologies for
Chair, we have apologies from Councillor Green.
Before I continue, I just want to introduce Anna Hughes. Anna, all right?
Yeah.
Dan will be introducing her in a better way than I can a bit later on. Declarations of interest, request for presentations, anybody? Minutes of the last meeting held on the 9th of September. Assume you've all read it, so could I have a proposal, please? Councillor Hanlon, seconded Councillor Brown. All those in favour, please show. And then matters arising from those minutes. 156, 157.
Yes, I've done everything.
No, that's fine. And then 158, that's not there, but then the rest of it is the reports that we had. Right, thank you very much. Right, the next one is we're going to introduce Matthew Yarwood from the Free Food in Haverhill scheme. And they have requested some support from the Town Council. So, thank you, Matthew. Do you want to come sit here? Probably easiest. As long as you're happy with the camera.
Yeah. I'll let my face up.
So, I'll do a little bit of background, just to sort of, just as anyone's not aware of what we do, or when we started. So, started back in 2023-ish. Sort of, it was very small, didn't really mean for it to dominate as it has, but there we go. We save surplus supermarket food from Tesco, Waitrose, Sainsbury's, Lidl, Aldi, any supermarket you can think of. We've got a team of volunteers, about 40 of us now. We've got a team of emails actually to go through this week for that. But yeah, every supermarket you can think of, we go to about 40 to 45 collections a week, giving us probably between 3.5 to 4.5 tons of food per week, which we save. Comes back to our food hub in Haverhill, which is so much, which is where Petco is. And I would estimate 99.5% of that goes to everyone who comes to our doors or door. In terms of that people come through our door a week, about 500 people or 500 baskets of food leave our hub a week. Which, for example, antibiotics on the phone because numbers are not my best friend. Last year, 2024, we saved approximately 125 tonnes of food. Now, 125 tonnes is a big number, and to put in perspective, it's a blue whale, 21 elephants, 85 average size cars, or 5,000 dogs, which is a number, that's our number. I did some rough maths earlier on. This year we're on target to break 200 tonne. So that's a 75 tonne extra on top of that. And that's not including our extra collections, which other focus on great sugar this year. To go collect a tonne of sugar. Let's get an interesting phone call. We have collected half tonne of apples, those times anyway. So we did some fundraising, got a community chest grant to get a van, so that was about £15,000 all in. So now that van goes out 4, 5, 6 days a week to collect. Obviously, it costs money, running costs, that sort of stuff. But then that's not actually what I'm here to ask for. It's just a number. Something else to say that we are committed to doing this year in, year out, and for the foreseeable future. Currently, I'm putting together, building, whatever you want to call it, a bigger premises, probably a little bit bigger than this room itself, plus storage to do what we do now, but on a bigger scale. So, yeah, okay, 200 tonne by the end of this year, but next year, are we going at 300 tonne? Year after that, it's going to be 400. It's now getting to the point where running it volunteer-wise, donation-wise, isn't enough, and we've got to start considering actually how we go keep our doors open. We don't want to charge. That's a big thing for us. We don't charge entry. We ask for a donation if it's possible, because we are very aware that there are people in town which don't have the money. Us personally, our family of 5 struggle without the food help, and that's us who run it, let alone volunteers that also come in, give their time every week. One volunteer does so we have 2 different votes. So one vote for people that man the hub, one vote for people with the collections. Our volunteers take on these roles. One does the vote for the collections, does 4 days a week collecting food. On top of that, so it's little things like that that shows how much we need to put behind the scenes, how much to get what people want to do. The reason why I'm here today is essentially I did a grant application for you. That's what it is. A few weeks ago. It's asking for some funding, grant money for our running costs, rent money for the next 4 months. So this new building is £500 a month rent currently. It's agreed with both the owners, the manufacturing side. So he's put a lot of money into it, and obviously some rent to pay our power, pay our electric, pay gas, whatever you want to call it, it's going to be. £500 a month in terms of our donations is quite a considerable chunk, especially when you take into account, for example, this last 6 months I've done, I think, £500 something in pest control. Because food doesn't bring pests, and it's a large site, I don't want to risk anything there. The insurance of the vans, £3,500 a year, because it's any driver policy. Upkeep of the vans had £400 a year so far in repairs. That's not unexpected repairs, but there's just repairs that need to keep going to keep people going, keep them safe. So we're now at a point where we don't want to charge, we want to keep it free to everybody. If you don't have any money, you can walk in the door, take a bag of food, which I worked out a while back, probably about £50 worth of food. If you go to Tesco now, walk out the back, like you just spend between £30 and £60 like that. Cost of mince, well, a pack of mince, for example, is £9 or something. So we want to keep the cost as low as possible for us and keep it free. So pure and simply, we'll ask for things. I've got on the application for 4 months rent, which is £2,000. But I would like to get to a point maybe where the town council can fund part of that on a yearly basis. Pure and simply because actually we want to keep money and we want to keep it free. So yeah. Any questions?
Yeah. Right, any questions? Yeah, sorry, Councillor. No, you go. Sorry.
You're calling first. I was going to say, what's the plan for the 5th month spread?
So the 5th one, so we can do it on donations. The idea behind it is actually we want to be able to, so I've spent this year alone £1,500 on a new fridge unit, £750 on one freezer unit, £750 on another freezer unit. I've then gone cheap on the shelving, for example. So I want to, as the next year goes by, improve what we've got, expand what we've got, and actually, so the fridge unit and freezer unit is very much brand spanking open up on site, that's up to council. Once all people coming in, we feel that we've got this, we need to start putting some donations in the bucket. We have seen an increase, so we do KFC collections from KFC, for example, and we collect probably about 150 kilos of that a week. That is giving us our rent money, but it's borderline. So once we have got into our new building, which is what the rent money will be for, hopefully, that actually there is a reason behind that actually makes sense.
What's the lead time on the certificate to be approved? Because obviously I assume you need to pay the rent for this month, and if it's not open in 3 months,
So I'm
I mean,
literally just about keeping the donations that are coming in. So we got a big, nice big donation bucket, take it back, count it, go straight to bank account. The next week, or 2 weeks later, that brings into my account again. So right now it's very much hand to mouth, keeping it going. We're just keeping off the bills. Annoyingly, I've been asked sort of pestering for that certification, or license, whatever it is. I have not been told a date, because he's not been told a date yet. I was trying to open up 3 weeks ago, set a date before the opening for, managed to come open it, set it for this weekend, again, try and open it, and I'm thinking I'm going to cancel it again, just wait for that certification. Obviously we are continuing to run where we are, and that's not going to change. It's just a case of, I need to get everything in place to make sure we're stable. Yeah.
Thank you, Darren. It's actually 2,000 measures on your application form. The figures were like B and C didn't equally on the form,
Yeah.
so it was a bit.
I was looking at it in my brain somewhat.
Yeah, okay. That's right. Yeah, thanks again for all the work you've been doing over the last few years. The fact of what you've been doing, but don't you think it's bizarre, perhaps I'm asking the wrong person, that the supermarkets produce all this food, fill their shelves up?
Yeah.
You say 200 tonnes next year.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous amount. Would you rather that there wasn't any waste, and you, because I'm assuming the main thing that you're doing is stopping food
Yes.
going to food waste. It's not actually to provide
So,
food for community. That's a byproduct of what you're doing
Yeah.
by stopping food going to waste, isn't it?
so I've pondered this. Myself and Lauren worked at Tesco when we were 16, and we both done checkouts. Well, then also across the store. We then also both gone to hospitality with the chef on the front, and we've seen where the food comes in. And actually, I think it's more now. It's got to the point now where, as a consumer, we want to walk into Tesco and see a product on the shelves and go, that's my product. So that's all they have to go. Okay, well, I need that product on the shelves, so that customer doesn't go elsewhere. So unfortunately,
The perception of like a full shelf sells more food.
exactly.
But they're basically
There should be
giving the food away, and so they're not going to you to buy the food because they get it for free.
Exactly. It's almost like a circle of
Bizarre.
So you go back to COVID, they over-ordered on everything Christmas-wise. We had, some of you might remember, pictures from our front garden. The tons upon tons of carrots, parsnips, Brussels sprouts, potatoes, everything from our front garden. The next year, because they over-ordered on all those products, they under-ordered the next year. And then we got none of it, but we got loads of other products. And then the following year, they then went, I exactly what's going on here. And they did the other way. The supermarkets will never get it right. And I think they've been trying for years and years now. They've now got around it by offset. I think they're offsetting it tax-wise by donating it to a charity. Or for a charity program which is Foodiverse. Or labelling. So I would love to not have to do what we do to save the food from supermarkets, but I love the fact that we can stop that through our passion, through our want to save that food waste.
Just one thing that you brought up about a regular donation. Do we still do that? I thought we'd stopped. I might get it wrong. We stopped doing like year on year. Right? No?
No, well, I mean, there was,
There was something that
so if we think that there's going to be year on year, we budget for it. So, and you see those appear in the budget lines, separate to the main grant part. Otherwise, that grant part would just get whittled away to nothing. But they all have to apply every year. What we don't do is multi-year agreements, so they're automatically going to get the money. But we do, if you like, automatically budget for it, and councils make a decision each January whether they want to include a line in the budget.
Yeah, that's where I was,
Thinking sort of year on year, so my next year idea, obviously thinking if I can get some funding for the rents to cover those costs. Currently, as an example, a lot of volunteers use their own vehicles in town for collections. Or so where they come their vehicles, and I want to try and not have that. Obviously, we have a big van. Not everyone's comfortable with a bigger van. I do want to try and get a small van in town something. So that is in theory, a future project for applications to West Suffolk Council to buy a vehicle, and then just trying to sort of make it self-maintaining, in a sense, so that we're not saying to people, oh, come and volunteer, use your vehicles and damage your vehicles and wear and tear your vehicles. I mean, my car, for example, had 600 kilos of apples in 3 weeks ago. Borderline illegal. Because I couldn't use the van that day, because it was going out to go to Cambridge, and I was not best time, but it would not have worked. So it's in a way like that, trying to cover costs through grants. For example, a large shop donation money goes on the rent. If I can free that up, I can funnel this back into it.
I think if we was to do that and sort of set aside, perhaps we probably would not saying we could do this committee, is it something we would do after doing
Yeah.
full council?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Councillor Brown first.
Yeah, thanks for your presentation, Matt, and all the work you do. It's very much appreciated. It may be supermarkets that are lost, but it's the people of Havensgate, and well done for coming up with the idea or formulating ideas. Yeah, a fantastic thing. Yeah, I personally like to see town council help in some way. So yeah, so I'd be behind any plans we can do to help you out. Yeah, do very good work. There's a lot of people. How many say 500 a week?
500 a week.
Yeah.
Obviously, we don't take any personal details from people.
No.
So we don't know how many of those 500 are repeats. But what we do is record the numbers to the door.
Yeah.
Like today, I think it was 72, yesterday 63, and we go for 7 days a week.
I know that you don't have to charge for coming in, and
Yeah.
I've seen similar sort of things, clothing and whatever, where people pay just a couple of pounds to come in. It is a lot of money, but if you get £500, 500 people a week coming in,
Yes.
that does really help you out. And I mean, most people can afford
Yeah,
£10.
I mean, it's, we want to try and maintain
Yeah,
the freeness of it.
yeah.
Because
100% get it, but yeah.
we had someone, actually we've had quite a few people over the years that come and said, we're homeless.
Yeah.
And they have actually been genuinely homeless. Obviously,
Yeah.
we've signposted, we've got an agreement with Breach to signpost people towards there anyway,
Yeah.
but they've got nothing in their pockets.
No.
And it's to try and exclude those people.
Yeah. No, I can see that there'd be a bit of flexibility
Yeah.
there if you see someone that is absolutely can't even afford £2. 100% help them out, but yeah.
Do you understand what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I wonder if it's more a case of actually then have to ask, so Breach have a massive thing to go for all your finances and stuff. I don't want them to go, okay, well that person looks like an old stereotype, I don't want to make it, it's a case of you can come in, doesn't matter who you are, what money you've got, what money you haven't got. It's trying to be all inclusive.
Yeah. Yeah, no, 100%
But
get
then,
yeah.
I'm fair to I fully understand
Yeah.
that if we were to charge those 500 people come through the door,
Yeah, yeah.
that £1.
But I hate to see you not survive or really struggle
Yeah.
on. Yeah, that's the thing. Everyone's lost
Yeah.
out, you know.
So we want to try and stay free
Yeah.
for as long as possible, and that is our. Because also, if we change it to then charging, we can't be free food here because it's no longer free.
Yeah.
So it's sort of,
Nearly.
yeah, I think you get sharp on the financial signage.
So Councillor Christina, then Councillor Martin, then Councillor Allen.
So I think what you're doing is absolutely brilliant. You've listed a lot of your expenditure.
Yeah.
And for me, if you'd asked for the money for pretty much anything else, I'd be totally on board.
Yeah.
What concerns me is that the money is for everyday running costs. If you needed a grant to cover a new freezer or
Yeah.
towards a new car, absolutely.
Yeah.
But if your current operating model isn't supporting your everyday running costs, I don't know whether a taxpayer grant should be covering those. Do you understand what I mean?
I do get where you're coming from. I don't know if rent comes under everyday running costs.
I would say it does.
Yes, it does.
Okay. You know, I can see, so next year we have two bridges, for example, in our current unit, which still work, fully functioning. Next year I do want to replace them because they're getting old. They're not keeping temperature as well as we would like. They're still keeping temperature, but they're not fully there. And also it won't look right in the new unit. So next year I will be replacing that. But then I can't sort of put a price on that sort of stuff. I would still say like my pest control, like maintenance, and all that sort of thing is running costs, which is where I got a little bit sticky with that one. I can't say I want 1,700 for this because actually I don't know when that's going to happen, nor do I know exactly what it's going to cost that point. Does that make sense? The fridge we have bought for the new unit, I spent 6 weeks looking through various different things to try and find the right one. Very difficult. And actually that one might not be available. So we're trying to sort of think logically about that £2,000 then go to one side, go to the rent, and I can put that money which we would have spent in rent to one side to spend on things that we need next year. It's a bit of a balancing act for us.
Martin.
Thank you. Firstly, thank you for what you do. I think it's an amazing thing, and really it's a two-prong because you have saved 125,000 tonnes of food.
125 times.
Sorry, 125. Last year from actually going into landfill, and as well as that, that has provided food for many, many people in this town, and I think that is huge. And I would always want to see it free. I think that to take away that element will prevent many people who may want to access that and will be prevented from doing so if there's a cost. A donation is one thing, but actually charging is a different matter altogether. Did I understand you to say that you are looking for another premises? Did you say?
So where we come
If you are, how is that going?
So we've got a little shipping container.
Yeah, I know you are.
Going
I
down.
know you are.
On
Yeah.
the same site, about the centre of the street, is a new unit which is in the process of, so close to being done, just waiting for the licence or certificate.
Right, so you've got the
Got
premises.
premises.
It's there. The premises
It's
is
there,
there.
it's,
Well, that's
it's almost ready to go.
Yeah.
But I could open the doors tomorrow just to look at the final little things
Yeah.
afterwards. So I could in theory open tomorrow,
Yeah.
just wait for the licence or certificate, whatever one it is.
Yeah. I fully support what you're asking for.
Yeah, but it's funny, someone said to me a little while ago, why can't you get a place in High Street?
Sorry.
Someone said to me a little while ago, why can't you get a place in High Street? And I think fundamentally, our business model, if you want to call it that,
Yes.
does not suit the High Street because of, or just in general, the size of it
Yes.
and the cost of the High Street. So where we are is perfect. I've also got, so the owner of the site has also said that next year, if we have expanded more so, there is more room for expansion.
Yeah.
So it's not even,
Yeah. It's very novel. It's a great thing that you're doing.
Councillor Allen.
Yeah, I agree with all the other councillors. Thank you very much for what you're doing. You used to live in my road, and you started
it's
there.
blocking up quite a lot.
Yeah, did. And also another lady did it in our road as well, didn't she? And actually starting, and thank you, but on from that. What concerns me, obviously, even though you're staying where you are and you're expanding. My concern is the parking there.
Yes.
It's a pity that you stay in there really because of all the other business. It's a pity you can't find some place over the industrial estate where you're on your own and you can have as many cars going as possible, because that will expand it even more. So it gives advantage for more cars to go there and more people to access it. So that's just my concern, that you're staying where you are really.
So I did look into a few premises on the industrial estate when I realised we were needing to expand. Probably should be beginning this year and the last. There's some units on the road that Screwfix has, that my brain can't work where that is.
Holland Road.
There's some units down towards where McDonald's end is, which were coming up for the town list. I couldn't justify spending almost double what we were getting on donations for that. In say a year to 2 years time, I could in theory go to that. Our main concern with that is trying to keep it within walking distance, safe walking distance of the volunteers that do walk to us. We want them walking up the industrial estate evening, for example, in the winter. Christmas, for example, Christmas Eve is one of our bigger ones. Christmas Eve we can be there till 9 o'clock at night. Christmas Eve, dark, dingy, industrial estate is a bit of a concern. Sort of excludes some people from going to us. So it's sort of, you said it's sort of a double-edged sword, like we want to be as central as possible, accessible as possible. The parking is always going to be an issue. As long as people, if people park more specifically, and maybe think about parking, say, Home Bargain, a little like where we are actually closed.
Just to come back on that, I just thought there's places being built at the back of the Liddles.
I don't know what it is.
I think they're small warehouses or what have you being built at the back of the Liddles, where the pallets were. Are they?
Pallets are still there.
Yeah, but they're building.
No, that's for the pallet people.
Oh, that's for the pallets, right.
Okay.
Just on the parking stuff, I mean, do you have a rough idea of how many people actually walk up and how many people drive?
So, unfortunately not.
No.
I would say there's a handful a day that use their blue badges and park. I don't think anyone actually parks on site anymore. We do occasionally put down, we don't actually see it happening. I do know a few people that live in the roads opposite, and I said obviously there are people waiting there all the time, and it's like, consider it not.
I think, I'll hear what Councillor Teixeira says about the cost, but I think this benefit is probably more important here to the people. So are you looking for a grant?
There is an application.
Sorry?
You already have the application.
Yeah, no, are we looking for?
Not now, we're going to do it later on.
Okay.
Yeah. If there's no other questions there, I think you've got to go.
I've literally left work to come here.
Oh, okay. Well, I've got a couple of quick questions then. Obviously you spoke about freezers and fridges.
Yes.
Supermarkets don't get rid of the food unless it's expired, time expired.
So you've got used by investment for.
Correct, I appreciate use by
So-
itself, that sort of stuff.
Used by what has to be gone by midnight, it can't be sold,
right.
distributed after midnight, best before can last. So for example, I've got 130 kilos of potatoes, can't be sat to be distributed, that's the best for item. So those items we can distribute for longer. The used by item currently are picked up by the farmers, going into people's allotments and stuff like that.
But what do you do with the stuff that's gone beyond those days?
Yeah, so the stuff that's really gone beyond that goes to the local farmers to feed their animals and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Allotments.
So I'm being quick because I'm going how do you control who gets food? Because there's nothing to stop anyone just wandering up and saying I want free food, and they're perfectly capable of buying their own food from whoever.
So,
And related to that, do you know the percentage of people who pay or who can't pay versus those who won't want to pay?
okay, so
Because you've got 500 quid, it's a hell of a lot of people.
there's a lot of people. So pay for food. Because we're not a food bank, and we're about saving food waste.
Yeah, I understand that, yeah.
It doesn't matter if you have 10p in your bank account, 10,000 in your bank account.
No, I'm more concerned about the finances, really.
Yeah.
It's all about those people who potentially may turn up and just say, give us a basket, I want a lot of food, and they've probably just been to a supermarket and bought all of other stuff and thought, no, I want to get some free stuff as well. Where they really should be paying towards the rent, is what I'm saying. But equally also, on the finance side of things, who else have you gone to for finance funding? So, for example, have you approached West Suffolk Council?
West Suffolk Council, there
Other
was
than the county?
there was the community chest grant,
Yes.
that was 2023, I would say.
Right, have you applied again?
Can't buy cheese running, I got told.
No, that's not right.
Okay. So I need to do that again.
So you really need to speak to John Eaton.
Yeah.
He was the one, because he not only knows about the community chest funding, he knows things like the Suffolk Foundation, the Community Foundation, all those other places. Because what worries me, what you said earlier on, it says that you expect the town council to, fund it. Then and it's been said, we don't really do that.
Not an expectation, it was more.
No, I understand that, but I think it's what you need to do, and if you look at our rules, of course, we expect match funding most of the time where possible. So I think that's something you need to really actively talk to people like John Eaton, because you don't have to wait for the community chest, which is closed now, and it's not announced till January, is it?
It's thriving community school.
Yeah, well, it's called now. Yeah, I would call it community chest. But equally, he'll be able to say to you, oh, foundation, because the foundation, you probably know, is basically, it accumulates people who say, I've got £5 to spare, and they will go out and do that. So I think that would be a great help to someone like yourselves, to go and talk to John, and just say, look, how can we get some help here? Because he's got contact with everyone.
So I've been very busy, so part of me going, well, part of us going to this new bigger unit. So for the last, well, since the start, I've been very much in trenches, doing everything. I've not had time to set back. Trying to balance personal work, personal life with family, and then the hub essentially is a full-time job on top of it.
Yeah.
So when it comes to being in this new premises, I will have that time to step back and go through that a bit more. Up until this point, it's been very much stretching. It's all that bubble on bubble. There's someone who's got to give to boost it.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
So yeah, next year is the year for doing that sort of stuff.
Right. I appreciate you. Have you got to go back to work?
Yeah.
I thought you did, yeah.
So I started that, it's fine.
Nice. Yeah.
Just a quick final note. Thanks for everything, Dave. Appreciate it. Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah.
Okay, we have got a grant application later on, but
Yeah.
it's a lot further down the list, so we've got quite a lot to discuss. So thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Obviously, it'll be online, hopefully. It's recording, okay?
The contact is let know the outcome.
That's fine.
Okay. Can't do that. Appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right. Moving on to item 7, public forum, to hear from any member of the public. You got anything,
Yes, Chair. It was a wonderful evening of entertainment between Richard Clifford and Derek Jacob. The evening led by Richard Clifford, he was able to take Derek Jacob through his career from a child and how he rose through from his first stage of his acting career up to the present time, which led into, you'll have like and Shakespeare, and also you go back into Black Country and covering Cadfael and covering, you have Gladiator 1 and 2, where he has actually acted as Claudius, and right through, he is actually one of Britain's accomplished actor, and also I've felt that he's now could put him into the legendary actor of Britain. And coming to Rock for Heroes. Rock for Heroes again develop, give outstanding performance again with the camaraderie between the group and how they gel with the band and also the audience and deliver a great evening of entertainment of good music, and just hope that we'll have them back again in next year coming. So it was 2 great nights which I myself enjoyed of going and attending, and I think that it was a great night. So thank you.
I'm sure our creative director was listening to that. Thank you very much, Eagle, for good feedback. Right, reports then, we're going on. First of all, yeah, no, I can get down to that. I already introduced. Okay. Yeah, so we're going to, item 9, we're going to item 8A, so...
you want me to combine 8A and 9?
Yes, please.
Yeah. Okay, so I'll do my report first. As usual, you've all had it, so I'm assuming everybody's read it. I won't take you through it line by line, but I'm very happy to take any questions. As was said in public forum, we were very lucky to have Sir Derek Jacobi here just a couple of Sundays ago. I think things like that continue to show how, even though we're small, we can be mighty. And the programme moving forward, you can see from the future ticket sales section and some of the other bits in the report is looking pretty buoyant, pretty healthy. Really that's all I have to say this time. It wasn't that long ago that I was in front of you before, so we did quite an extensive deep dive into everything last time. But if you've got any questions, then I'm happy to take them.
Mr. Smith, just quick one. Yeah, I'm sad Mr. Derek Jacobi appearing. I was unfortunately I was working that one. But the dementia...
He said the same about you,
No, I
actually.
did. You know me. Yeah, the warm spaces, is that been moved this year, or is that long?
Yes, it's diminishing returns, the warm spaces. So I think we got a couple of £1,000 the first time. It's now down to 800. But nevertheless, I always accept it, and we always come up with a project that fits the budget. So in other words, sometimes the projects are getting a little bit less ambitious, and now there's less money. But nevertheless, we will do something.
No other questions from your side, from the other side?
Just from what I've heard again, thanks to the team.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
My usual question about the cinema side of things did tell me these multi-showings have stopped now. That's good.
Yes.
Because it's not the showing of them, it's the fact that we staff it, and that's quite a considerable amount.
Yeah, well, you can see from the cinema list, there's far less and far more people on each one.
Yeah, but it's also full members of staff, not members of staff we've got on each one that is showing, which is adding up a bit, unfortunately. Okay. No, everything else was okay. I filmed a couple of, I didn't film, they were filmed for me, but I edited them. Some of the big deal comedy side of things, which okay. Obviously done the art centre improvements. Hopefully people have seen the new carpet, have walked over it and thought wonderful how springy it is and everything else. Right, in that case,
Just on that, it says here the toilets and stairs being completed in December, and I hope it will be, but the quote for that extending the work, it'll need to go to full council for sign off, because the amount is over the delegated authority.
are you no good at laying carpet?
Oh, I've done all of that.
I noticed, yeah. Okay, shall we move on to item 9 then?
Yes, so I would like to introduce you to all of you to Anna. Anna is our new Creative and Participation Officer, funded via the Suffolk Culture Grant that we received from Suffolk County Council. Anna's only been with us a week. She tends to, the working pattern is, it's 13 hours a week, so it tends to, roughly 2 days, and it tends to be Thursdays and Fridays. But you know, that may or may not change as projects develop. And so far, other than setting her up on her laptop and email and meeting everybody and all that sort of thing, we've started to go through a list of projects that she's about to get her teeth into. But the purpose of tonight was really so that you could see her, say hello, but also it's worth saying that, you know, while we have her, I'm keen for this position to be a resource that we properly use. So if any of you have ideas about participation work or projects or creative endeavour that we ought to be doing in the Arts Centre that we don't currently do, then please drop Anna a line. And if you're a district councillor or a county councillor and it can come with a bit of locality money to make it happen, then all the better. So that's it, that's Anna. Do you want to say anything?
Hi. Nice to meet you all. And yeah, we spoke about projects, I'm really excited about them, and yeah, wanted to just get into it.
Are you able to announce any projects you're working on?
So Anna's going to be working on the Warm Spaces project with the £800 that we've been given for that. We are, as you know, we started Haverhill Youth Theatre last term. So Anna's going to be doing some more work on that, and we're sort of taking it, developing it to its next stage, which is offering holiday provision. So at the moment, the youth theatre runs term time, you know, every Saturday, 10 weeks, another term, 10 weeks. So what we're now going to do is fill in the gaps. So we'll have a summer school, an Easter school, half-term workshops, etc. So we've got one in February half-term and one in Easter planned already, and they'll be themed around the things that the kids want to do. So Wicked or, you know, whatever. So Anna's going to work with our youth theatre team on that. We have the beginnings of a sort of some kind of celebration of diversity and culture developing. A few meetings ago I told you that I had bid for Haverhill Arts Centre to be part of something called the National Rural Dance Initiative, and we were the only venue that was chosen in the Eastern region. So that means that we get a couple of pieces of dance theatre, if you want to call it that, that we can programme per year that's funded. And the idea of the scheme is to try and expand the audiences for dance. And it just so happens that the one that we've got coming up early-ish next year is a Turkish dance company. And so we had already had a thought that rather than it just being come sit down, watch a bit of dance, go home, is that we might talk to the Turkish restaurant, do some Turkish food, make it a bit of a European kind of celebration of European culture and food evening. But now that's starting to maybe develop out into covering a few more cultures and a bit more, and making it a slightly bigger project. So Anna's going to be working with other colleagues on that. And then there are more things we can do with film. So, for instance, we do dementia screenings, but we don't do baby screenings, for example. So Anna is going to meet with our film programmers tomorrow, I think, and talk about things like baby screenings and Saturday mornings. I think it might have been Councillor Brown that's mentioned this before, like there's sort of Saturday morning screenings for families. So the latest kids film, but just do it for £3 or something rather than go and pay a fortune and our friends across the road. So, you know, Anna's going to meet with the film programmers and start talking about that. And then we have a little bit of well-being funding that I applied and got a while ago that we're yet to spend. And so Anna started to put her head around how we might spend that money and what we might do in terms of a sort of arts and well-being kind of project. So that's a small bag of things that I've been saving for her, especially, so that she wasn't bored when she first arrived, and then hopefully there'll be more.
I'll just quickly, well, you covered most things.
No,
Just
well,
ask you what specific things you are going to go on do, and also, is there anything, by the way, hello, is there anything that you would want to do that we currently can't do at the moment? Is there something that sort of floats your boat?
Put you on the spot.
I mean, my background is, I was in digital acting, also own my own company, it's a charity called Haverhill, and we run home ed days and also kind of similar to youth groups and things, and I've worked with children for a long time, so I'm very interested in developing the children's part and bringing any of my skills to those bits. So.
Okay, I mean, before going to Councillor Brown, it might be me actually, I suggested 3 cartoons in a thrilling western for Saturday morning cinema. Like
We used to do, John. Yes.
Yeah.
Six
Well, that's me making it up.
Six old
Silence,
pens.
like John used to watch.
Well, I can't remember 6 old pens.
Yeah, well, six old
But I don't want
pens.
to forget your question about drama festival as well.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
up.
I'll see if I can bring the organ back as well to
That's it,
accompany
yeah.
your
We used to do hula hoops as well.
Yeah, you get talking about doing stuff for different cultures and groups, etc. I did ask a long time ago around trying to do something for the Polish community. We've got a big Polish community in town. It'd be lovely to be able to do something for those.
We can definitely build that in.
Yeah.
We have a large Filipino community here as well that attend my church and progresses. Yeah, I mean they're huge and they do the most magnificent food every 5 weeks. Yeah.
Well, if you have any, what I would say is, if you have any links into those
Yeah.
communities,
Yeah.
like key people, that would be amazing, because that's where Anna's going to struggle to begin with, is the
Yeah.
links. So
Yeah.
if you can bung some in an email, that'd be amazing.
I will.
Thank you.
Lovely, thank you very much both. Obviously you don't have to stay unless you're really desperate to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Until that he has to. But we can. Lovely. Shall we? Thanks, very
It's
much.
nice to meet you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right, shall we move on to item 8B, youth skills report, which you also had on the same document as the youth creative director's version. Obviously I'm not going to read it out. Any questions at all?
Just a good report,
Yeah.
good work being done, and
Yeah.
thank you for all the work you've done.
Yeah, I didn't find anything in there different from the major stuff that they always do. I was quite interested in this sewing group. I've got some trousers that need repairing.
T-shirt.
Take them across the road.
I've actually got a spare sewing machine as well. That's what made me done that.
Take them across the road.
I'll do that anyway. Any questions on that? No? Okay, let's then move on to zone manager's report, which obviously covers the zone youth skills. I know she refers to my figures, but we can actually publish them. Half term, being 2-week holiday, was pretty good income wise, but especially first week. It's quite surprising.
Yes, there was a 2-week half term for some of the academies, and the second week was much more.
Yeah, I think some of the schools went back. I think it's like fever was quite
It was
bad.
only the
Unity,
Academy.
yeah. So, but even the first week was at least double what we take. So it's good.
Yeah, so we say it's a benefit to us for having a 2-week
would say, if you're going to do that, take a week off to some holidays personally, but rather than 10 minutes or whatever it is per day they do. That's ideal, of course. Figures are down a bit, but I think that's just generally everywhere it's like this. We've said this before about businesses, you know. Sorry?
I was talking to Sandra and she was confirming that in terms of the Association of Indoor Play, yeah, they're hearing right across the country, the numbers are down everywhere. And of course, the point is, it's a luxury to it. You don't have to take your kids to soft play. So, you know, these things, I think people are having to make tough decisions on what they can do.
Equally, the weather's been relatively good. You know, so many days we've had rain, isn't it? So, you know, the temperature doesn't, well, at the moment, ridiculously high. Sometimes we have to put the heating on, but not yet. Any questions on the zone? Don't forget the use skills as well, on the spot band, etc., and the other stuff they do attached. Okay, thank you very much. And the final part of the report, which you have had an amended report, is the committee wardens.
Can I just say on that, Chair, that it's fantastic what they've been doing all around. What I've heard today as well, talking to people about the community wardens, what they're doing.
Well, it's better now we've got a van that's drivable by somebody.
Yeah, that's true, yeah. And, you know, that, especially the post office as well, you know, as soon as I saw that graffiti on there, really upset me, that did, because of what was happening today, especially.
The only thing
So thank you, thank them, and thank them for doing that. It's really good what they did.
Just to say, it's really nice to see somebody without painting any graffiti, almost as soon as the graffiti's up, you see him sort of.
one thing we must make sure we do.
Chasing people across town.
It's brilliant.
The guy is prolific.
Yeah, I've seen him so many times, it's incredible.
Must make sure we take photographs before the event, because police are after that.
Just to say, some more has popped up on the side of the cinema.
Yes,
Yes,
On the
yeah,
wall.
yeah.
There's a poppy actually which looks absolutely
Looks
beautiful.
great, but then something
Yeah,
is-
and then there's some more sort of graffiti around it. But the poppy itself is fabulous,
Yeah, yeah.
it looks lovely.
There's someone here just Strasbourg Square and
Yeah, they were tackling the cinema this morning.
That's
Where,
right.
were they? Oh,
Yeah, but they were saying they're finding it tough to get the graffiti off. One of the problems is, of course, is that normally they don't prepare the surface, they just tag it and go.
Yeah.
But of course, if you clean off the surface to get rid of that graffiti,
Yeah.
if they come back and redo it, then it makes it far harder to get stuff off again.
Yeah.
But I think it's difficult is in terms of we clean. It's not our building, so we'll clean stuff off the best we can. But in terms of applying anti-graffiti stuff, you can't really do that to somebody else's building. They need to do that because it's a conscious decision to be putting that sort of surface on.
It's artistic, the poppy is beautiful.
yeah, it was, yeah.
Yeah, I wonder whether that was a response to the fact that we covered over his tag.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. It's improving the graffiti.
It is,
It's
yeah.
that's terrible.
Have you got a graffiti trailer or whatever it is?
Graffiti pressure washer. We haven't. It's not a hot pressure washer, is it?
The one,
Yeah.
no, it's cold.
Yeah. Somebody had a hot pressure washer, which is more effective.
Hopefully it will stop soon because actions can be taken.
I think it sounds like it. There's usually a challenge on to try and get clear across the town and have all your tagging complete. We had this in Exmouth, it was exactly the same.
But the thing is, what I've noticed is you've got that one guy that's done the prolific stuff, and that's out to the A11 on the way to Kerry. I'm spotting it everywhere.
Yeah, these are not children.
No,
No, no.
and the thing is now, that's now encouraged other, because I've noticed other markings, there's nothing similar to the other ones, so someone else has jumped on the bandwagon, it's turned into competition now,
Yeah.
which is terrible.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
Perhaps
that's
it
right.
could challenge his artistic talents in another direction because
That's what we try to
yeah, he's
encourage.
obviously he's quite talented in many ways, and some graffiti can be absolutely lovely.
Well, I have said that if we could work out a way to reach out to him, notwithstanding the fact he has, we don't.
No.
But in terms, notwithstanding he's currently breaking the law,
Mm.
but it would be far easier
Yeah.
for the police prefer it if we found him something to do.
Exactly.
No, I think,
So if he's watching this recording, he'd be very welcome.
It's probably like this.
I've,
Sorry, Ken.
I've worked with business quite a lot over the few months, and yeah, particularly since Barry's joined us again, not again, but joined us. Yeah, it's a pleasure to work with them. They don't hang about. They're quite happy to get stuck in, which is good. Right, lovely. Thank you. Let's move on. Done that. Right, grant policy review. You should have all had the blank grant policy. I have given Colin, I made some notes and everything, primarily a lot of them are grammatical, so I wasn't going to get spent the whole meeting talking about full stops and things like this, so I've given that. Anybody got any thoughts on this? It's all to do about not revenue funding things just for the sake of it. It's emphasising our policy to people who apply. You know, as you know, we've had some grant applications which are a lot of money with no evidence of any form of match funding at all, because they assume that we're just going to fork out. So anyone, some of my stuff related to things like, I mentioned GDPR as such, we mentioned, I think it was a 1998 Data Protection Act, which was obviously replaced by the 2018 number, was it? I think it was something like that. I've also suggested, and it's something I can do, whether we should have an online version of this form, because I did notice on one of the applications we got today, they said we couldn't tick the box online on the form. So I think maybe we ought to design that as an alternative, but I can, we can talk about it. Is there anything on here that you think we could put in change to re-emphasise the fact we're not the prime source of funding, if you like, and we're here to help with the pay bill.
I think the policy is clear. I think it's a question of whether we follow the policy.
I think we do genuinely, because it is obviously we are obviously vetted first. And I know, Colin, and you know, you go back to people if they're not clear or don't have the right information and all this sort of stuff.
But at the end of the day, if they fail to provide the correct information, then we don't have the authority in this policy for officers to simply say, in that case, we're not putting your application forwards. So we do get policies where there is confusion over how much people want, and we've gone back twice, and we're still no clearer at the end of it. And when people come along and talk, hopefully explain better in person than they're able to in writing.
Well, maybe we need that strict statement that says your application will be vetted, but maybe looked at first by town council officers before being presented to councillors to ensure it meets the policy.
Just that's a good question. When would this come in? Right, I mean, would it cover applications that have already been applied for?
No, I think that's
So it has to do with policies that are adopted by full council, and full council would say, as of X date.
Yeah, so it wouldn't affect any.
You wouldn't expect it because it's too late, or giving them the money.
Yeah, I mean, ones that are in the pipeline, I think.
Unless you defer them.
Chair, just thinking, if we do get the officers to look at them and say yes or no, I was thinking that would help them as well, really, in a way, because then they're coming, instead of just filling it, you know, photocopy bit online and filling it in, not knowing full facts, even though they should read this, but most of them don't, to be honest, then perhaps that'll help them. You know, but the point is, has the officers got time for that? That's the thing.
Well, I think probably the answer is yes, but it goes back to what you were saying about the what I call community chest funding and everything. Is one of the things every year is John Eaton holds training sessions for how to fill the form out, and it's so fun places as well, and you know, explaining exactly what they expect you to fill out, so the number of applications that arrive not correct are dramatically reduced. When he started that about 4 years ago maybe, and I think that introduced that workload tremendously, that people actually, where before I think he said something like 80% of the applications did not meet the criteria. When he went back and explained things, like about another 60% came in correct. I assume you've got time, you know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, I would say that if you were going to do that, then you're making an assumption that, and in the same way that Thriving Communities works, you have a single round of grant giving, so that everybody who wants to apply can attend a single training session, which is how John Eaton does it, and then people put their applications in, and then that's it for the rest of the year. Now, there are parish councils that operate not with necessarily training courses, but will literally have their first meeting in April, of the new financial year. They will allocate all their budget that they've put to one side for grant giving, and that's done for the year. And somebody else wants an application, they can wait for another year. That, you couldn't, otherwise, how would you do the training? Because I don't know who's going to apply next
No,
year.
obviously the thing is only one. It's a one training session for the whole thing. It's also once a year there thing. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I think if you did doing that once a year, that's not taking any sort of unforeseen circumstances there where people need an emergency grant or something like that. If you're saying you've got to wait till next year, that's
No, but you
not
could-
very helpful, is
You
it?
could specify a limit, if you like, that says anyone who wants to apply for more than £1,000, you have to do it once a year. I'm not saying £1,000, not a limit.
Well, yeah, I mean, we haven't got a crystal ball. You know,
Yeah,
I think you're sort of just restricting yourself, your time yourself.
So we also operate first come, first served basis, which means that those people, you know, in January maybe, there may not be any money left.
We can say no to those people who come first.
Well, you could do, yeah. No, it's just a thought.
Yeah.
But I certainly think there will be something in there that says they're going to effectively be reviewed before they're presented to councillors to make sure they meet the requirements of the policy.
And then would you envisage that we would, for transparency, include a report saying the grant applications that were not submitted to the committee were declined for the following reasons, so you knew there was on record that, you know, we'd said we're not going to put your application forward because it doesn't add up.
And that's exactly what they do with community chest. There's probably, I can't remember how many they used to get, but there always was a list of those that never met the criteria. So you never considered them. They're there for information. The first bit, what about having that paragraph in that says officers will ensure that it meets, or even just something like officers will ensure that it meets.
We can propose to full council that they delegate the authority to officers to do a pre-screening.
Yeah, pre-screening has a good word. I knew there's a word for it.
Yeah, so I'd be happy for that. Be a good filter to have in the system.
I would say probably
Do it
a
anyway.
third of the applications at least get sent back with a list of you need to redo this, this, this and this.
You're doing it anyway, don't you?
So we are doing it anyway, but I think the difference is that an application that doesn't add up, doesn't make sense to us, they haven't answered our questions, you won't see that application. You'll get to know that these people applied for funding and this is why we didn't forward the grant application to you. Because the
Well, one of the things in here, sorry to, one of these were something about, bear with me where it was. Have you applied for other sources for local funding or raise money to us? Yes or no? And then it says, see our website for alternative sources. It's not clear, like I say, on the website where it is. And what I was saying earlier on about Community Foundation and John Eaton and those sort of things. And that's perhaps what we should have is, yeah, we can't support this, we can't for this reason, or you're not filling the form correctly, but have you considered?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, especially if it's an online form, you know, when it gets to that phase, you can have links, you know, just straight off.
Yeah, that's easy enough to do, yeah.
Presume it was like, I'm with it.
And modern website forms are very clever in terms of conditional yes or no, you know, you answer yes, it does this, if you answer no, it does that. So I did one for the Christmas thing for stall holders who wanted a stall. Did you want electric? Yes. If you answered yes, what amperage do you need? That sort of thing. Okay, well,
So is there anything actually in terms of councillors, do they have any recommendations regarding revenue funding?
Councillor Brown.
To be fair, I would hate to see something in there written in stone. It should be, but there's always going to be the case that's going to, you know, not fit in to what we want somewhere along the line. So I don't know how we could do that.
Again, going back to community, I'm sorry, because that's the one I was involved in a lot,
Yeah.
is it was made quite clear that you should not be funding something just purely to keep it going, because it's not sustainable in the long term. It's not worded like that in the policy, but it's basically, you know, you must try and find alternative sources of income.
So there will always be a case somewhere along the line, some organisation that does terrific work, could hit a hard time. I know it could just be, you know, temporary funding, but I would just like to make sure that somewhere there's some safety net in there.
I think it's the obvious thing, like paying people's wages and that sort of stuff. But I think it's, you know, if you talk about like the capital items, which was mentioned earlier on, is if you need a new widget or whatever, is that yes, you should apply for that, and that's something that's going to make a benefit, and you use the other money for paying your running costs.
Yeah. I know that we've got to run this like a business and make our ends meet, etc. But we aren't a business. We are doing stuff for the social good.
I know, but it's,
Yeah, so-
there's different levels of social good.
Exactly, but that's what I'm saying around what we need to try and get into our document somehow. And I'm not sure how there's not bright people here that need that could come up with something.
Well, maybe it's not revenue tax, about everyday running costs. You know, you shouldn't be covering up everyday running costs, because otherwise it's not just not viable.
No.
Well, if you call it everyday running costs in the document, that's a vague enough term. You can fit that to whichever description you need to for the time. Gives you the ambiguity.
I think we need a certain amount of discretion.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Oh, yeah.
Don't want to sort of-
But you don't have to say must not, you can say should not.
But
It's all right, come on.
are we talking ourselves into a position? Do we want to mention it at all? Because the collective will seems to be that actually quite a lot of the time we're okay with financing running and everyday costs and everyday revenue. And if that's the general feeling of the council, then there's no point in changing the policy. Do you see what I mean? Before we've even changed the policy, we're thinking about how important it is to have exceptions.
I think it's to stop those or reduce those grants that are coming in, that are just coming to us and not bothering to do any other funding resources. We're sat here, you know, like we have done, well, certainly last financial year, and so to a certain extent, where we get a grant request in, which takes a hell of a lot of our grant. You know, grant is only months, 2 or 3, we were spending about 80% of it if we had agreed to everything. Which, you know,
Yeah, but we're already asked them to show evidence of match funding, aren't we?
but we are.
So,
I don't know
how
how,
is that, is it? I mean, surely.
what was mentioned is whether or not we're actually making sure we enforce that policy. Or find out why that is.
How are you going to sort of, are you going to ask to see their bank account so they've had a certain amount of money paid in by a certain charity? Because sometimes it's not paid immediately, is it?
No.
I don't know how you can sort of,
Item C, where, you know, from your own, you know, other income sources. So you've got that, but also, what is that? Yeah, I mean, maybe what we ought to do is take the one that they use for West Suffolk, which has got quite a lot of distinct things. I mean, I spent a lot of time with John Eaton designing the form to make sure it adds up correctly and everything. It's whether or not we try and use that side of things, but it actually does specifically state who have you applied for, when are you expecting that amount of money to be available, if it's allowed, and how much.
I think it says in the form that about accounts, and it says you don't have to send them straight away. So,
Is that's your policy.
policies, is that
Your
okay?
accountants.
Okay, so I was just wondering, if you think that a figure is unreasonable that they're quoting, then obviously you can refer to their accounts, can't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is a thing that occasionally comes up in terms of people will ask for funds, but their accounts appear to be showing that their general fund is extremely healthy. And I know councils in the past have queried, well, why don't you just pay for this yourself? You've got the funds. And it's clear sometimes they preferably just would rather not use their own fund. So yes, there is an issue. I think in terms of match funding, there are some funding requests where I don't think councils are particularly concerned about match funding. So I think it would be, I would hope it would be self-evident to the applicants which ones are actually, you know, if you're asking for thousands and thousands of pounds for a project, then you'd expect them to try elsewhere. If it's hundreds of pounds, then really, you know, like the money that was spent on the hand dryers, the scouts, they think that was the bit we paid for. It was part of a much larger project.
Yeah, I think that's very valid. Is that, and that may be where we're saying about things like pointing into the website. Is have you tried all these places before you know you still come to us, but you may have some luck having.
And that's the great thing, it's information, because a lot of them may not even
No, they won't know about it. They won't
exist.
know about it.
Yeah.
You know, if you said to most people who applied, I mean, about John Eaton, they'll say who?
Yeah,
You
exactly.
know.
Yeah.
So this is obviously not going to the council anyway.
Shall I draft that up and
Is that
send it
right?
later?
Would you mind? Yeah. You happy with that? Yeah.
Yes.
No, because we're at 10 minutes
That's
to
okay.
go.
Okay. Right, thank you for that. Right, let's move on to actual grant applications. First of all is the Sudbury District Scout. You should have all had the latest status of money which Vicky sent out today. I asked her to send this out only because it was in the agenda, was including the two that we're speaking about today. 42.7. A bit different there because she talks about 44.150.
You're counting the
Oh, man. That's one.
I don't know what numbers. It was 2019. That's not the right year.
No, sorry. So was she not sending the right year?
There'll be 3 or 4 pages of the whole thing.
I asked her to print the whole lot. I'll ignore that. District Scouts, the usual thing, their marching band at Long Melford, which I went to, I think, did you go to? No. Did you go to?
Went to it last year,
Whenever it
yeah.
was, yeah.
I know, it's,
Good event.
yeah, there are only lots of shit out in the other town.
Yeah, no, that's right, yeah, yeah.
What I did notice that, I think a couple of years ago, they asked for like £400, which included traffic management.
Yeah.
They should have asked for that as well, because this year, unfortunately, the traffic management was non-existent, the roads weren't closed,
No,
they were walking along sort of like amongst the traffic and things like that. It wasn't very, very good. So, yeah, but the event itself was.
Maybe county councils paying for themselves. Sorry, here, pig's flying. Anyway, the last one, 67, 71, sorry.
Yeah, a lot of youngsters get a lot of enjoyment out of
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
More than happy to propose that.
Yeah, I thought it was a great event. Councillor Martin got there first. All those in favour, sorry, that's Tony, Councillor Martin, sorry. All those in favour, sure, yeah, lovely, thank you very much. Right, now we get on to the free food in Haverhill one. Which they want £2,000, and I realise that, you know, what you said about the monetary side of things. I don't think we really discuss any further. We've had the thing. What do people think? Anyone? What's starting?
Also, he did what they've asked.
Okay.
I know you spoke, sorry,
No,
may I just say something? You were asking a question about, alluding to the fact that some people may turn and may not be entitled.
Well, not entitled.
Well, yes, but how do you, you can't possibly do anything with that. You can't say to somebody, you know, because you drive a car or a particular type of car, you can't have food. It's free food. It's not, it's meant for anybody who goes and collects it.
Yeah, no,
And I think that is
talking
hugely
about.
important, that it is like that. It's free for everybody. It stops all this stuff going into landfill, and I think it's an absolute disgrace to see what happens with food that is perfectly edible, carrots, vegetables of every description. It's just criminal that this type of thing should.
Doesn't actually go to landfill, but yeah.
Well, wherever it
No,
goes,
wherever it goes.
it doesn't, it goes somewhere.
Yeah, yeah.
And the fact that people are able to go and collect that food that otherwise would decay, rot down somewhere, I think it's amazing.
No,
and I think they do a fantastic job.
I was pointing out, I think really what Councillor Brown just said was maybe there should be a flat fee to go in here to get the thing. Not much, you know, but to help towards that £500 a month.
Yeah, I know.
You know, if you've got 2,000 people a month going in here, you
I
really should
understand
be getting
that.
some income from
I'm
those
still
people.
against it.
Guaranteed income. So Councillor Smith, I think, first.
Yeah, well, I was going to propose it really opposite, that's the wrong side, but yeah, I'll second it, but yeah. Does industrial waste goes into landfills? Only domestic waste that doesn't go to landfill, goes to incinerator. Because if we go to that Great Lakeland place, there's a huge landfill site next door where industrial waste goes into. And that's what supermarket waste will be, industrial.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, most of the industrial goes through the incinerator first, but there's a hell of a lot of stuff that comes out the other end.
Well, I beg to differ.
It depends on the contract, yeah.
They're the contract with the district council, goes to the incinerator. If they have a contract with different.
Definitely, no, that's right. The Biffa also take theirs over to water teachers. Did you want to say something?
Yeah,
Yeah, fine.
just to give the other side of the argument. I'm no quarrel whatsoever with the quality of the course, but I think 99.9% of people who ever apply for council funding have a very good cause. But I do think there has to be some financial literacy to the claim. And what concerns me is we would like the council to fund this going forward, and that's a big discussion as to whether the council wants to commit to be a major funder going forward. The sums at the moment on the current operating model aren't enough to support it, but they're still talking about expanding and getting bigger and bigger and getting cars for volunteers. So we're providing funds which are needed to keep the show on the road, but at the same time funds being allocated to grow. So It's a very, very good cause. They do very good work. I don't argue with any of that. I'm just concerned. As the very first thing I said, where's the 5th month's rent coming from? That's the bit that worries me.
Yeah, I mean, you can't knock the enthusiasm at work and what they do. And, I did have in there around, just a small little fee that would make so much of a difference, over the course of a month. But I think they could really do, because they're putting all the heart and soul into actually running the place and running around picking the food up. If, we could get some advice for them to help them out how to, run it more, potentially more efficiently, or, just give them some admin advice or something like that. So I think they could really potentially use that, because Matthew there seems to be, he's running around doing this, picking the food up, and, you can soon let like the admin stuff and all the rest of it run away with it, So, and like I say, they're feeding, 500, people a week. It's taking a huge amount of food away. Areas pointed out they just go to landfill, wherever it goes. It's waste. Yes, it's waste. Yeah, and that's awful resources. So so my heart is really with them, but also listening to a colleague over there, and he's 100% right as well. So then I'd like to see some help given them around, getting some funding in and whatever, not just for themselves.
Before going to Councillor Hamlet's, obviously 2 people have, I presume, have given £500 to councillors.
Yeah.
I assume that is actual, because he said having previously funded from town council, but of course we don't do locality funding, so it can't be us.
No, but
So obviously it's West Suffolk, so I don't know what year that was either.
No.
I've got a feeling it's not this year, but presumably what I mean is from your saying, and I agree totally, is the contact with people like John Eaton and Co. Has been made, and I think that needs to be made a bit harder. Let them come down, because if they have applied for, whether it's called not community chest, but whether it's called these days, private communities, that's it. I'll still forget that. Is that presumably he knows about that anyway, and whether if they have applied, and it's not listed here, which is a shame, because they might have got some money off through the Thriving Communities Fund.
Because I know West Suffolk did seem to put quite a lot of effort in at the beginning of this. I don't know if they still kept that.
No, I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you can find out.
Yeah. You were sort of on that, wasn't you? When these people first started, first started off.
I've been one of the ones that goes from the quality.
Yeah,
I can't remember off the top of my head.
So West Suffolk were going down giving aid.
There was West Suffolk paid money from the community fund as well.
Yeah.
And there was.
Why don't you contact John Eaton and find out?
to be fair, they've got a good treasurer. So.
That's very true. Who knows about this? Because the treasurer's the same one for the Haverhill show.
Oh really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Yeah. Okay. So I'll take that back now. I didn't realise.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've had a proposal for the second. Oh, sorry, Captain Anderson.
I'll just go back to this expansion. To be honest, they won't be able to expand because they've got too many people around them that complain every 2 minutes. They're always complaining about cars parking in there, and people won't walk. Especially with a load of stuff, food and what have you, with it. The volunteers walk because they go there
all day
and whatever, yeah. But my fear is that they won't be able to expand because of the place they are at the moment. So that's the fear of it. If they're counting on that sort of money, even if everyone contributes, I think personally that might start to dwindle because of the amount of problems of parking there.
Yeah, presumably the owner of that site, who I don't think is the person they're paying money to, I think he's just another tenant, who manages the site on behalf of the wheel landlord. Presumably they should be doing that. I mean, they put these little cabins out there, none of which have got planning permission as such, but the site has, Well, we have got a proposal for the seconder anyway. Can you pick those up?
Yes,
So,
yeah.
unless anyone's got anything else to say,
Councillor Martin.
little scrutiny. You have a show of hands, please. Okay, Karen, thank you very much. Right, let's move on to 13 grant recipient reports. You should have all had these. The silver band previously sent out. The other at the end of the appendix, one of which is obviously the Sudbury District Scouts. Yeah. And the other one is the Colin mentioned earlier on about the hand gliders.
Yeah, it's nice to
Up
see
at
that.
the hand gliding one. Can I proposal to accept those, please? Councillor Martin, secondary page. All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much. Right, 14. Got the minutes of the community event working party. I'm going to put into that because I quickly got through it. It sounded okay. We know about this sound issue. Can I propose these?
Yeah.
Councillor Browns.
What's the teaching money?
All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much. Right, item 15, date of next meeting is 19th of January next year, and close our meeting at 20:30. Bear with me until I've worked out how to stop this.